Hello, this is Craig Mertens, Director of Product Education for Inktavo, the parent company of Graphics Flow, InkSoft, and Printavo. Welcome to the inaugural InkSoft Academy. This is our new online education program. Most of you, you're all joining us for the first time. So it's good news is you're registered for all subsequent webcasts. So as long as you've registered for this one, you'll get notifications of subsequent webcasts. Right now, we're going every other week on a Friday, so you're welcome to join us. And all of these classes are recorded. So if you go to the InkSoft YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, you can go back and watch the recordings. And then we'll also send out reminder emails to everyone that's registered so you get a copy of the recording link. So why are we doing this? Well, one of the reasons we're doing this is to empower our customers so that you can more effectively use the platform. Another great reason for doing this is we have Q&A session at the end of the webinar, where if you have questions or you really want to get into some of the nitty-gritty of the platform and ask questions, we're there to answer those for you. The other thing that we're going to be doing here is showing you kind of some of those tips and tricks and best practices and things that you may or may not find on your own, but it's kind of fun to do that. And I kind of collect those. It's a bit of a hobby of mine of finding ways to utilize the platform that might not be super obvious, but if you get a little bit creative, you can do some of those things. And we'll do that in the class here today as well. So I'm going to get started. And what I want to do first, I want to lay down some fundamentals. And InkSoft is primarily an e-commerce platform. And so obviously learning how to effectively use InkSoft stores is fundamental to your success with InkSoft. And I've used quite a few different store platforms over the years with different vendors. And it's been my experience having to learn this platform myself that InkSoft stores is pretty simple compared to a lot of the other platforms. But there's definitely best practices. And so what I'm going to do is back up a little bit here, and I'm going to go into the actual InkSoft dashboard. And I want to get in there real quick and show you just a little bit of navigation. Typically when you first log into InkSoft, you're going to log in through the dashboard, and you're going to get some basic visibility on your orders, some of the things that are going on, pending stores, all that kind of stuff. It looks like we got quite a few stores that are in partial setup mode from different salespeople on our demo account here. But the main point of navigation is going to be InkSoft Core. That is the rudiments of the software, and that's where all the basic features are accessible. And so if I go into InkSoft Core, I've got the panel over here, and what I really want to do is navigate to one of my stores. So I'm going to go down here to stores. We've got quite a few different stores that we've loaded that we use for demoing. And the store I'm interested in is this Central Booster store right here. So Central Boosters. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to this particular store, which is Central High Boosters. This is a template. And what does that mean? If I spend the time and energy to set that store up, what I can do is I can use that as a template to create subsequent stores to copy a store. So if I was to go over here and select the little 3-dot icon and select copy store, it is going to copy the store. So what kind of information is going to come over if you copy a store? All the settings that you set for that store through the new store wizard, or any preferences that you set for that store, are going to come over. That includes things like logos and branding, your methods of payment. It's going to include things like your notification settings, whether or not you wanted to have the designer activated in that store. So what's the use case for that? So think about it like this. Let's say you're working with a local high school and you have created one centralized store for Central Boosters, but you wanted to create sub-stores for the different coaches and coaching staff of the institution. You can copy the store, create a soccer store, just upload the graphics, and I can just take that same concept and replicate it across all the activities and organizations across that school. And once you've done that, all of a sudden you have a showroom, and you can utilize that showroom for that particular school to go and close other schools. So that's a really good reason to work off of copying stores and templates. Plus you avoid a lot of extra work. If you have that store template set up, you can easily go and change the branding, color scheme, logos, and use that store for a completely different business or a completely different customer. So that's a really good use for copying stores. Now, I'm going to click on this store right here, and I'm going to talk about some of the refinements that we've made to stores. So this is a school store that I built, And true to form, when you're in InkSoft stores, you have a panel here. I'm logged in as an admin, and you have a panel here. This is the storefront, and this is what the customer is going to see. You have store admin here, and this is where you're going to add products and administer products and settings. And then you have style editor, and style editor is right here. And I'm going to show you one kind of a neat little enhancement that we did that I really appreciate. It seems like a little thing, but it's actually pretty handy. And so we rolled this out earlier in the year. I'm going to delete this content block, which is a featured product. So I'm just going to delete that real quick. And I'm going to remove that component. And I'm going to add that component back in. So if I come back here and scroll down here to the right, what I can see is the little plus button where I can add another content block here. So I'm going to go down here to the right where we have the content block, and I'm going to add a featured product. So I'm basically getting back to where we were from before. And I'm just going to start from scratch. I'm not going to load the previous product. So if I scroll down, one of the things that you're going to notice is this new content block has been dropped at the bottom of the screen. So something very subtle and different. I don't have to use the up and down arrows any longer to move that object up and down through the order and my content blocks. I actually have a little button over here. It says reorder components that works with drag and drop. And you'll also notice there's a trash can over here. So if I wanted to take that trash can and delete a component, this would be a very easy way to do it versus just clicking on the little trash can icon over here. So down here at the bottom, we have this featured product. And where I want to put this, I just want to drag it and drop it right here underneath the little countdown banner right here. So I just want to drag it in here. And then once I'm done with that, I'm just going to click on done. And now this product is right here. So we haven't really added a product yet. It's just a really easy way to reorder. And you notice I've got a countdown timer here set up. So get your orders in before the store closes. So I've got it set to close in 20 days, but I'm actually going to reset that real quick. I'm going to go over here to edit. And then I'm going to go to manage end date, and we're going to actually push that out into September. So I'll push it out into September, and we'll give them an extra week, September 8th. So kind of a best practice. And one of the things that I think is generally kind of a smart idea is if you create a store and you put an end date on the store, you kind of have to be a little strict on that. If you're flexible on end dates on stores, then you're conditioning your customers that they can wait till the last minute and you're going to extend the store. So there's a better way to do that is that you can set an end date for the store and then close the store. But if you want to come back, let's say you have some extra inventory, you can come back and reopen the store and say, hey, listen, we have 24 pieces of XYZ left over, and you can just relaunch the store. And so I think putting a precise end date on a store is generally a good practice. And another really good practice is getting buy-in from your customers so that they're promoting the store through bulk email campaigns to their buyers. In this case, it's a booster club, or that they're promoting the store through their social media. If we can't get them to promote the store, it's going to be challenging to generate revenue on the store. And another best practice, and I think something that's relatively clever, is it's quite easy to get little postcards set up where you can go in and set up a postcard and have a QR code that leads to the store, maybe put a couple of samples of the products that are available for the store, and go in and just print out a bunch of those and give them to the folks that are involved. And maybe it's the, soccer coach, and give the soccer coach a stack of 150 of those and give them out to the kids and say, hey, give this to grandma, give this to grandpa, give this to your friends. This is how you go to our store to buy merchandise. And we're raising funds for the school. So anything that you guys purchase through the store, we're going to get a percentage of that, and we can use that for our travel fund. So I think that's a really good practice to utilize. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to take this store and I'm going to add a product. I think most people know how to add products, but I just want to do a little bit of a review on that. And before I do that, I'm going to save and publish the store. So I'm saving the store, and you notice I was prompted when I wanted to navigate back through the store. You'll notice I was prompted to discard changes, and I actually want to keep these changes. So I went and hit save and publish. And so I'm going to just hit the back button here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to store admin, and I'm just going to add a product. So once we've gone to products, the first thing you're going to see is all of the active products that I've built. So I've been using the store quite a bit. And so I've built quite a few pre-decorated products that are already sitting in my store. Now, when I copy a store, the products from the previous store are not going to come through because they're not going to be typically going to be relevant to this new store. So what does come through is the product mix of blanks that you curated. So if I go in and add a new product by going over here to create new, the product mix that I've added is going to be available to me. And I just added some very common products that I use all the time in demos. And I've added those, and I'm just going to use just a simple little Gildan 2000 t-shirt. And something to point out that if you're, if you've used other platforms in the past, one of the things to point out is that, InkSoft generates the mock-ups from a product feed. So we're getting a product feed of the photography, the descriptions, even things like size charts, real-time pricing. We're getting all the product feeds, the size ranges, all the color availability from the vendor. And so you'll notice the Gildan description is here. I don't know if this one has a size chart that's available. Yep, it actually does have a size chart that's available. And also, one of the other pieces of information we're getting here is the different views of the product. So in this particular product, when we got it from the supplier, it has a left chest view. It also, where the graphic would go on left chest, and it also has a full front and a back view, and even has a right sleeve view. So when I go over here and I add another product, I'm just going to add navy. I think most folks that have used InkSoft have done this. You're not having to generate individual product. You're not having to generate individual product mock-ups in your graphics program. You're not having to go into Photoshop and creating a mock-up for all 20 colors of the Gildan 2000 t-shirts that you're offering. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go over here and just add this product right here. We're going to add that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select ash so I can see the colorways that ash. And then I'm going to select navy, and I've actually set up a different colorway here that's in red for the navy version. And so I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm going to create the product. Couple just simple little best practices. When we go to add product details, one of the things that I might choose to do is get rid of the word Gildan here. Could get rid of the word Gildan if I wanted to give myself a little bit of extra flexibility in terms of inventory. So if I needed to order fruit of the loom, I could do that. But another best practice is under the SKU, if I put CB here, and maybe CB, my A store, CBA right here, hyphen, under the SKU, then I can run a report for anything that's CBA and pull up all the SKUs for that particular store using a search. Price, I'm going to go ahead and put the price in here at $25. And then I'm going to upcharge for 2XL, we're going to charge 30. And then for 3XL, 35. And I think I'm just going to price average over here if I'm going to offer these other sizes. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then I'm just going to hit finish. And most folks have done this before, just adding a product to that content block that I created. So from here, I'm just going to skip over to the style editor, and I'll just skip over to the style editor. I'll go back to manage products, and I'll add that product that I just created, hit done, and then last step, save and publish. So couple things that are quite different now that I want to point out. So when you create the store and you select the branding and the colors of the store, this is now linked to a proposal. And the other thing that's happening is the background colors that you're choosing for this particular store right here. If you see that background color, that's going to dictate the background color for the store. Now, a couple tips. If I was to choose red for the background, let's actually do that. We're going to choose red for the background color of the store, and I'm just going to save and publish that. This store is going to be pretty exciting when you go in this proposal is going to be pretty exciting when you look at it, because it's going to have a very bright red theme. But I'm going to go ahead and do that so you can see what I talk about. I think using neutral colors is generally a good idea. So a gray would be good, or a mid-tone color, but like a dark navy or a red, there's just so much contrast there that I think it's a little overpowering when you do a proposal, and you'll see that in a second. So what's the point I'm making? Proposals are now linked to stores. And so if I create a proposal for Central Boosters, it's going to have their branding, it's going to have their logo, it's going to have their colors, their methods of delivery. All of the central information from the store is going to transfer to the proposal. And that's new. That's something that we wanted to do that for a long time. And I think generally it was a really good idea to do that. But let's go back over here and I'm going to save and publish these changes. And this is dynamic as well. So let's say you create a proposal and you don't like the color scheme. Just go back to the store and change the background color. And then when next time you open the proposal, it will be updated. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go back to my main dashboard and we're just going to create a proposal real quick. So I'll go to proposal. And this next point is going to be very, very, very important. Okay. So when we create a new proposal and we want to link it to the store, if that customer, like in the case of, let's see if we can find one here. This customer right here, Eagle Strong, John Doe, Acme Production Inc. He's already linked to the Acme store because when we set up this customer, we assigned John Doe to the store, or maybe John Doe checked out of the store. And that automatically assigned, maybe it was on the designer and checked out of the store and automatically assigned John Doe to the Acme Production Inc. store. So he's already pre-assigned. But if I have not assigned a customer like Craig Martinez over here to the store, let me show you how we do that. So I'm going to go over here and create a new proposal. And once I create this new proposal, I'm going to add a customer and we're going to find Craig Martinez right here. And there's quite a few different people in here. Looks like there's a couple Craigs. And you'll notice Craig Martinez right here is actually already connected to Central Booster. So if I select this, it's going to pre-select the store assignment. But if I go to Greg Martinez, Greg is not assigned. I don't believe, is Greg assigned? Or I could create a new customer here. So we can create a new customer and we'll call this Gregory Martin. And then what we're going to do is I'll just give him an email address. And it's all the basic information and company of organization. Let's see, we'll call it Central High. And so I'm going to create him, but I'm not assigning him to a store. I'm just creating the contact and he's currently not assigned to a store. So I'm just going to create a contact for him. And this is where I'm going to assign the store. So you see the store assignment right here. I'm just going to go to the drop down because he's not associated with the store already. I need to select the store that I'm going to associate it with. And I'm going to select Central Boosters right here. And now he's associated with the store. So all the store detail is going to pass through the proposal. And so I'm going to click on add product. We'll just add a pre-decorated product here. This looks pretty familiar. So we'll add that. I'm going to add both the ash and the navy. And we'll put in our pricing. Now, here's the thing. We have pricing rules that are set up. So the way the pricing rules are set up in this particular account, that any order under 24 pieces will automatically be priced as DTG. Any order over 24 pieces is going to be priced as screen print based on my pricing rules that's set up. We have price breaks built in and the number of colors in the graphic. And so it'll auto-calculate. This particular graphic is a vector-based graphic that we uploaded. And this graphic was a graphic from our sister company Graphics Flow that we just went in and added the mascot and changed the text. And we created this. I believe this is a 3-color design. This one's a 2 and this is a 3. So I'm going to put my size range in here and we'll just go and copy that in real quick. 6. And we'll do the same thing here. So what really is a proposal? Proposal can be a quote. It can be used for invoicing. It can be used for art approvals. It can be used for quite a different thing. But to me, the main reason for using proposals is to get paid up front. Because if I now save this proposal and I want to send this off to the customer, I'm going to prompt them to pay me. And so I've saved this proposal. I can get a good view of what it looks like here. So I'm going to go over here and go to customer view. And I want to view the proposal right now the same way the customer views it. And the difference between a preview as a quote and preview as an invoice is just one says quote, one says invoice. But an approval is a little bit different because we can actually have the customer sign off on the art, preview the art, all of those kind of things. So we're generating the customer view of this proposal, and what you're going to notice is the logo came through from the store, all the contact information came from the store, and the color came through from the color scheme. Now, personally, I don't mind the red, but I recorded a video with the red background, and I got roasted pretty good for that. I didn't title this, so typically you want to add a title to the proposal before you do that as well. But let's take a look at the proposal, and we're going to click on that real quick. View proposal. Here's all the detail. Here's the detail on the actual, product. If you want to, view more detail on the order, the product description, maybe different views, a little bit bigger view of the graphic, we can do that as well. But this is where the magic happens right here. Approve and pay. Because what we're trying to do is condition our customers to pay us up front. I always like to say, when you're buying from Amazon, people are so conditioned to purchase from Amazon, you're putting your credit card in and you're paying up front. So if you start to condition your clients to pay up front, or at least to set up a rule in their payments to take 50% upon approval, and maybe the balance upon delivery, or maybe balance net 30, you start collecting that money up front, and that really improves your cash flow. So let's go ahead and click on approve and pay here. And I'm going to pay the entire balance, because the way I set up this particular proposal is they're required to pay everything up front. And you'll notice payment method right here, ACH. So this is new. And so ACH, when we converted to InkSoft Payments, ACH was included. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that was included. That's a global preference. So I went into my payment, more or less the place in settings where we set up payments, and I went in and I enabled ACH. And so we're enabling ACH in two places. We're enabling it when you process orders, and we're enabling it when you process the proposal. And so in this point, they have the option of either adding a credit card or ACH, and you don't have to offer that. You can turn that global setting off so ACH will show up. But if you're processing big transactions like $2,302.53, it's nice being able to offer ACH, because you save a little bit on fees there. And so if they select ACH, they can put in all their banking and routing information here, account type, all of that, and they can check out with ACH. Or if they can check out through a credit card, they can do the same thing. So the main thing I wanted to show you guys here was that the proposal is now linked to the store. And so we can carry forward all that information that we needed for that particular customer. And we only have to do it once. We do it when we set up the store, and it's just going to automatically port over to the proposal. And so what I'm going to do here is, let's get back to that store, and we should probably add a name to the proposal here. So this is Central High Boosters. And anytime I make a change, and by the way, this is where you're going to set up all of your payment details. So right now, if I wanted to go and change this from payment in full upon approval, I could say no deposit or deposit required. And then if I do deposit required, I can select, percentage of total and say 50% of the total, and then the balance due in let's say 30 days. And so I actually changed that in proposal. We just have to make sure that we save the proposal when we do that right here. So the next thing I want to talk about is a functionality of the software that people really don't use a whole lot, but to me is one of the coolest parts about InkSoft. And that functionality I want to talk about is the customer portal. And right now I'm logged in as an admin. So I'm an administrator. I have a lot of latitude in terms of editing this account, but I can also create a user account, not an admin account. An admin account is tied to the vendor that's selling the merch. The user account is just for the person that's buying the merch. And so if I go into my marketing settings over here, and I go into marketing, and I want to set up a user account for a buyer, maybe it's the human resources manager or corporation, I can go into my marketing settings and go to user accounts, and it's quite easy to set up a user account. And the way you would do that is you would go over here and you'd select an action, add new user account. This is where you would put in their information. This is where you'd assign them to a store. So in this case, if I was setting up a new user, I'd want to assign that user, let's say, to Central High Boosters, so that I don't have to select that store every time I do a proposal. put in all their contact information, and make sure you have an email. And as soon as you hit save, they're going to get an email that says, hey, you've been set up as a user for your Central Booster store. Please set up your password. So now they have a user account that's tied to their email. They have a password that lets them go into their customer portal. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm not going to actually save this one, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to log out as an actual admin, and I'm going to log in as an actual user. And so I'm going to come over here and go to my main Central Boosters store. And I'm just going to log out as an admin. And then we'll just log right in as a user. So logging in as a user, I'm going to have very limited accessibility. Basically, I'm just going to have accessibility to the store. I'm not going to have accessibility to all the admin things of that nature. So I'm just going to go ahead and log out. And then we're just going to pretend we're a customer for a second. So I'm going to log in with my customer account, different email, different password. That red is pretty intense though. And so we've logged in. So you notice all the admin stuff is not available to the customer. And you will notice that I did add the InkSoft designer in here. And I'll show you the reason that I specifically added the designer in here is probably not what you're thinking. And so there's a very specific reason that I added the designer in here. And so the customer's in their store. There's something sitting in their shopping cart. So they have 72 shirts as waiting in the shopping cart there. And so I'm going to go to my account. And so the end user, your customer, they can see what's going on. They can see that currently there's an unpaid invoice in here. They could open this up and pay that particular, or excuse, that's a quote in here that's approved and paid. So this was actually a completed quote right here. Over here, these are all the orders they've placed and any also orders that are in progress. So if they want to see basically the progress, pending approval, I've not gone in and approved this order. Maybe I should do that. And they're going to go to order details, and they have the ability to, look at the order. They have the ability to process a reorder from in here. But my favorite thing about this is if you have a filled order and you want to condition your customers to place their reorders, they can place their reorders right through their portal. And so you're not having, if you're dealing with very busy human resources manager or a purchasing agent, chances are they probably don't want to call you or even email you to place a reorder. They just want to have an automated way of placing a reorder. And so what you would do is they could just come right in here. They could view the order details. If they need to print a receipt, they can do that. And there's a button right here. It says reorder. So they're going to click on the reorder button. They're going to put in any notes about the reorder. I need this by XYZ date. I'm going to change the quantities to 12 smalls, 24 mediums, 24 large, 12 extra large, and no double X. They hit submit. So whoever's connected to this original order or proposal is going to get notified via email that there's a reorder request. If that person doesn't exist in the company, then the general account or that particular InkSoft account is going to get notified. So the person that set up the original InkSoft. So it's a great way for the customer to request a reorder. And then what you can do is go back to the original order, clone it, change the order, the quantities or any kind of changes to the order, send off a proposal and approve and pay, get paid, boom, done. So initiating reorders through the portal to me is one of the a best practice. And it was interesting. I was talking to a customer of mine and he was talking about how his plans to grow his business. And one of the plans for him to grow his business is really train his customers to do more self-service, because he really wanted to tie those clients to him, that they just got used to doing business a certain way. And, utilizing technology just to make it a little simpler, a little faster, a little easier. And I really thought that was a good idea. And that's why I'm sharing it with you guys. So I'm going to skip over here to my uploads real quick. And my uploads is going to allow the customer to have visibility on any of the designs that we've uploaded to their account. Now they have a low resolution thumbnail, so they're not going to have the ability to download this. So it's a low resolution thumbnail that's associated with the account. But these are just all the files that were uploaded by the customer into their account. Now, right over here, what you're going to notice is my design. Well, let's talk about this for a second. So if they upload artwork into their account, guess what I can do? I can grab that artwork and do a quote or put it on merch or load it into a store. So if the customer has been uploading artwork into their account, it's easy enough for me to pick it up and do a quote or load it into a store. So again, that's another level of self-service. But here's the cooler one, my designs. So you notice I had the designer enabled on the store, but not for the reason that you thought I put it on there. I'm not asking the end user to go and design their own merch and place one-off orders. That's not what we're interested in doing. What we're interested in doing is using the designer to have them upload their own artwork, because that's where that's going right here. So we can use the designer to have them upload their own artwork. But more importantly, we can use the designer to set up name drops for them. And so these designs right here, this one right here, actually all these, but this one right here and this one right here, they're specific derivatives of each other. They're fully editable in the designer. So let's say for, the general use case, the customer wanted to go into their portal and it currently said Central Soccer, and they wanted to change this to Central Volleyball. They can do that. So they can come over here and just say Edit Designer. The file is going to show up in the designer. This is all vector based. They have the latitude to come over here and just say volleyball right here. So they've name dropped it. They still have all the basic functionality of the designer. If they want to go in here and, change out the colors a little bit, maybe make that more like a true cougar color. They change the sizes. Maybe they want to put it pocket size. They have the latitude of doing all of that, and they're able to self-service on that. And here's the thing, they don't have to transact. This is the cool part. They don't have to transact. They don't have to actually go and check out and pay and do all that stuff, because what they can do is they can just save the file, and then you can come behind them and just do a quickie little quote. Because they designed something in the designer, you're going to get an email with a report that, hey, this person designed this in the designer, and that's going to nudge you to follow up. So let's go ahead and move that design up just a little bit. And another thing that's kind of important, but I think is actually kind of a big deal. Sometimes product blanks, when you have product blanks, they're a little bit askew. You always get that rotation handle there. So if you want to balance that off, I think that's a pretty handy little thing in there. So I'm going to save this design right here. And so remember, I'm pretending I'm an end user. So I'm going to save the design right here. And we'll call this Central Volleyball right here. I'll call that O2 because I think I already had another one. So they've saved this name drop into their customer portal. That's where they've saved it. It's in their customer portal. They can go to next step if they want to, and they want to get pricing. They can go to get pricing. And if you want to let them check all the way out, they can check all the way out. But a lot of times customers will just complete the artwork, and then we would deal with the actual purchasing through a proposal where they look at it, review pricing, approve, and pay. So let's go back to the customer portal for a second. And we're going to go ahead and leave here. And we'll go back to my account and my designs. And there you go. And again, ad infinitum, edit designer, Central Lacrosse, Central Track and Field. Another really good use case for this, in my opinion, is your corporate customers. And so if you're, this was an experience I had recently. I had some surgery recently, and the nurse, when she came in to visit me, she had this really cool, it was Honor Health. She had this really cool t-shirt on it. It was kind of like a Arizona desert theme with cactus. Really cool. And it said Honor Health below it. But it didn't say anything specific about the part of the hospital that she was working in. So like pediatrics or radiology. And so like in a hospital setting, you can set up the template with the cool, lifestyle graphic with the cactuses on it, Honor Health, and you can set up the template with radiology, mammography, pediatrics, and the customer can go in self-service to do the name drops to check out and get a quote. So this concept here of name dropping and using the designer to set up name drops is a concept that can be used in both your corporate accounts as well as your school team and sports accounts. And the process that you guys saw me go through to set up this name drop is the exact same process you would use if you're setting up your own custom templates. Maybe you wanted to set up your own template. Maybe that template, everything about that template is going to stay the same except for one line of text. You import that template as a big old piece of clip art, as a vector. You go into the designer. There's a whole separate tool in InkSoft where you can go in and add that name drop. You add that name drop in a live font, you save it, and now all of a sudden you have your own custom templates available within your InkSoft designer. And to me, that's a really good use of the application. So I wanted to kind of show you the customer portal and some of the neat things that you can do with it. And this is an area of InkSoft that I would strongly, strongly encourage you to continue to explore and to utilize and maybe do a little bit of practice. And so we have in our YouTube channel a great set of videos in the InkSoft YouTube channel on how to do exactly what I just did right here. So if you need a little bit of reinforcement and you want to go back in there, you're absolutely welcome to do that. And I think that's a generally good idea. And hit that subscribe button while you're in there. So we talked about some of the kind of fun things here, but there's a lot of times, customers, how does software get better? Software gets better because people have requests. You can call them complaints. You can call them suggestions, but they have ideas. And customers communicate those ideas. I'm going to log out as an end user here. And they communicate those ideas. And we look at every one of those. I know it doesn't seem like that to a lot of times to people when you're dealing with software companies. Every idea you guys submit, we're looking at it because that's how we decide to, what we're going to put in as a priority. We're seeing a lot of people saying, hey, I'm really not thrilled with the way the new reporting structure works. And there's a couple things that could be done that could improve that. And we hear that enough times. That's what we end up doing. We end up making those changes. And so I'm going to go down here into reporting. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the reporting updates that we've done and why that is kind of important. So I'm in reporting. And so I'm going to kind of talk about a few of the little changes in reporting that I think will have, a nice little impact on the day-to-day of a lot of our clients. So one of the things you're going to see is the product ordering report has been updated, and it's now renamed the product detail report. And so if you go over here, this used to be formerly known as the product ordering report, product detail report here. And you'll notice if we scroll all the way over to the right, you'll see all the personalization fields that are toggled on by default. So here's all your fields for this report. So we no longer have to have a dedicated personalization report because the personalization fields are in the product detail report. And they're also in the order detail report. So if we go over to the order detail report, we have the same functionality as we have in the product detail report, which in my opinion is pretty handy. So that's one just piece of feedback we got from customers that, hey, listen, we need to have, that personalization field across the reports. So if you're collecting data for personalization, let's say it's, the last name for a hockey jersey, you can access it in both the product detail report and the order detail report. So we notified all you guys of the changes. Do people read emails? Probably not, but I thought I would kind of reinforce that. So in addition to the personalization field in the order detail, we also added a decoration method and a date completed field. That was by popular demand. And we toggle those fields on by default. There are two new reports, and the product order report based on SKU and the product order report based on manufacturer SKU. And so prior to in the legacy system, prior to where we redid the underpinnings of InkSoft using SalesDoc, there was a legacy report that handled that same information. And the new version with SalesDoc had something similar, but it wasn't exactly the same way. And so what we decided to do is give you a little bit more flexibility with those SKUs, but actually improve that legacy report quite a bit. But we added in the new fields so that you had basically the old report, but improved is the best way to explain it. And so if I go in here to the product ordering report by SKU, this is where if you want visibility on quantities of like pre-decorated products, so you had a bunch of stuff that was already pre-decorated that you had loaded in, this is where you would have that functionality. And then if you went in here into the product ordering report by manufacturer, this is more for purchasing. So people are using this report to order blank goods. And also you still have all of your filters over here. So if you want to filter by manufacturer, part, supplier name, all the kind of things that you want to filter into your reports. You have the full functionality of doing that. So one significant order enhancement is the ability to filter by date range of a store. And that was something that had popular request. So the product order report, you can filter by date range and also by the specific store. So these are all results of people, saying, hey, listen, we think that if you guys did it this way, it would be more user-friendly to us. It's more along the lines of the way we work. We listened to that feedback and we came through. And this is a continuing process. So we're still looking at feedback and enhancements to the reporting because we feel that's really important. So stay tuned. There's some pretty big things coming down the pipe in terms of reporting. The next thing I want to talk about a little bit is print action updates. This one isn't quite as exciting, but the way that we deal with print actions, we really built a lot of things around PDF files and printing to PDF files. And so one of the challenges that you had before is kind of a time delay when you're downloading large volumes of data. And so when you have a whole bunch of work orders to download, instead of just downloading the work orders, which might be pretty time consuming, you can now print those work orders to a PDF file, and that process is much, much quicker. So people are utilizing that functionality with work orders, invoices, packing slips, receipts, all of that. That was a very common piece of feedback that we got. They're like, wow, I'm just waiting forever for all the, I process 100, packing slips a day. It takes forever for those download. Now you just print them to a PDF file and they actually process super quick. And the next area we're going to talk about is InkSoft Payments. And so I've prepared a little kind of slideshow to talk about InkSoft Payments, and we'll kind of go through some of the functionality of InkSoft Payments and kind of what it's all about. So in the past, when you were processing payments, you would be linked to your payment processor. And so as a result of that, if you had a customer service related inquiry, you're not calling InkSoft, but you called us. It's like, hey, listen, you really got to talk to your vendor about that issue. When we instituted InkSoft Payments, we're the payment processor, so we're handling all that stuff. And so payments are now directly integrated into InkSoft. You're not having to log into an additional platform to manage your transfers. Everything's through InkSoft. In terms of like cross-training your employees, it's really easy to train somebody because you don't have to teach them two platforms. And everyone in your shop is using the same platform to operate everything. So you can set up multiple logins with embedded payments. So different people have different access points. You can kind of keep track of who's doing what. And then you also have a very detailed transaction history, so you can quickly and easily calculate sales for a period. So you can see all of your payments for a period because you have that built-in reporting that's right into InkSoft. Cash flow, that's another really key point. Embedded payments gives you faster access to funds because we're processing that right through InkSoft. Automated system that helps you to avoid payment issues with delinquent customers. You're spending less time tracking down money owed and building better habits for your shops, which I think is really important. You're collecting payments faster and building more orders. And this is enabling you to scale. So if you're processing a lot of transactions, this is one of the areas where you really can reduce your labor and be a much, much more efficient, top-notch support. So to me, this is a big deal. So I'm a consumer too, and I have different web and e-commerce stores that I've set up over the years. And one of the things I always dread is anytime there's a problem with payments, having to call the company, get somebody on the phone that's actually knowledgeable, get an answer, and that can be incredibly frustrating. With integrated InkSoft Payments, guess who you're talking to? You're talking to the same account manager that you've been talking to about all the other aspects of InkSoft. So we're handling all of that. So we can help you through every phase from setting up your payments to issues with your daily transactions. We help you with any kind of disputes to make sure that that part goes smooth. Automating payments, is going to definitely help reduce your challenges. And then tracking your custom orders, maintaining a steady cash flow, continuing to grow your shop with the great support you've come to know from InkSoft. So we're handling all that stuff. We're not, saying, hey, you got to call this other vendor. And as part of InkSoft Payments, I think most of the people on the webinar right now have already converted to InkSoft Payments. But what you'll notice if you go into your InkSoft and you notice that payments is not available here, what that means is that you haven't converted over to the newer architecture, which is called InkSoft Core. InkSoft Core is all the underpinnings of InkSoft and the order processing system. That was a major update to the infrastructure. And there are a few people that are still on the old platform. And so if you go in here and you see payments, and that means you're on InkSoft Core. If you don't have payments in here, it means you haven't converted yet. And you have to be on Core in order for us to set you up on payments. So if you convert to Core and you go to payments, then you can walk through the setup process of getting set up on InkSoft Payments. It's really easy to do that. And as a result of that, guess what you have now? You have reporting. And so if I go into InkSoft Payments, I'm not having to go into any other kind of dashboard or third-party process. If I want to see all my transactions, here's all my transactions. They're all linked to the order right here. If I want to see all the deposits and what's pending and what's hit my bank account, I can do that. This is our demo account, so we're not processing a whole lot of gear through here other than test transactions. And then you also have things like preferences. So if you remember us talking about ACH earlier, you'll notice that under your payment options, pay with the ACH bank account, I have that throttled on. But if I didn't want to offer that, I could just turn it off here. And that's a global setting. So through proposals, we're able to offer ACH with this setting on. And also if you're just manually processing an order, you're able to offer ACH through there. We're not turning that on in your stores. That's how I toggle ACH on or off. And if you do toggle that on or off, just make sure you hit Save Changes, because that's a preference right there. And you'll notice over here it says account setup complete, which means that I've set up payments. And here's all my banking details. And if I want to change my bank, I can self-service and do that myself. So that's the basic things that I wanted to talk about. But we're going to continue to do this as we come out with new features. We're going to weave those features and the way to use those into the webinar series and also into the YouTube channel. And so I want to take you over to the InkSoft YouTube channel and give you a little bit of a tour and talk to you a little bit about some of the resources that are available to you as an InkSoft user through the YouTube channel. Probably the easiest way to get to the YouTube channel is you just go to inksoft.com, scroll down to the bottom. You could also go to YouTube, but it's do a search for InkSoft, but you'll see a little link here that says YouTube. But the first thing you should do is hit the subscribe button, because if you hit the subscribe button, you can turn notifications on or off. But if you leave notifications on, if we publish a new video, you'll get a little ping that says, hey, there's a new video published. And one of the things that you're going to notice about the InkSoft YouTube channel is if you haven't poked your head in there for a while, there's lots of new content. And so if I go over here to playlists, this webinar will be available as a playlist and a recording, and all the subsequent InkSoft Academy webinars will be available in that playlist as well. We also added a new playlist, which is a series that we've developed called Mastering the Basics. And Joel and I worked on this, Joel Taylor and I worked on this, and it's just all the rudiments of InkSoft put into a very simple, precise, short videos that just explain to you, hey, listen, I'm kind of confused about how to configure like products and pricing, and I just want to watch a quick video on that. Purchasing in production, how are those two things linked? And how do I process purchasing in production, or setting up your supplier catalogs? You're brand new to InkSoft and you want to curate the products that you want to offer through your stores and your proposals, and you need some data on how to do that. This Mastering the Basics series is designed to give you exactly that information. Now, when we roll out new functionality of the software, new functionality is going to be listed in another playlist, which is going to be feature updates right here. So a lot of the same information that you saw in today's webcast is in videos right here. And so you can go through and watch that playlist. And if you want to go through, this is actually a really good one, prospecting with proposals. This video actually shows you how to use the proposals feature to do a prospecting campaign. Thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with us today. And we hope to see you on the next episode of InkSoft Academy.